Have you ever looked at those massive groups of friends, the ones constantly posting photos of brunches, parties, and vacations, and felt like you were born on the wrong planet? Society has spent decades drilling a specific lie into our heads that the more friends you have, the more successful, balanced, and normal you are. We're told that popularity is a badge of honor and that being the life of the party is the ultimate social goal. But if you're the type of person who feels physically drained by a crowded room, who hasn't checked your DMs in 3 days, because you simply don't have the energy for shallow chat, and who only truly trusts one or two people in this entire world, I want you to stop and listen. You've probably been called antisocial, intimidating, or even lonely. But what if I told you that the first mind circle isn't a social failure? In the world of deep psychology, it's actually a sign of rare relational intelligence. It means your brain has evolved to prioritize quality over quantity and truth over convenience. Today, we're going to decode the 5 rare traits of people with small circles and why your loner tendencies actually make you society's biggest threat to the status quo. Welcome back to Mind Decode. Here, we don't just summarize behavior. We break down the real psychology behind why you think and act differently than the crowd. If you've spent your life feeling like the black sheep or an observer sitting on the sidelines, you aren't broken, you're just wired with a different set of survival tools. Today, we are doing a deep dive into small circle psychology. We're moving past the surface level advice and looking at how your upbringing, your high IQ, and your emotional defense mechanisms have created a high value mindset. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why you have fewer friends, you'll understand why your selective nature is actually your greatest gift. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get right into the 5 rare traits that define your intelligence. The first trait that defines your rare intelligence is your complete intolerance for what we call social filler. For most people, small talk, the weather, the latest celebrity gossip, or complaining about the 9-to-5 grind is the grease that keeps the wheels of society turning. They can do it for hours without feeling a thing. But for you, this kind of interaction feels like physical labor. It drains your social battery almost instantly. Psychology suggests that people with rare intelligence find small talk painful because their brains are wired for high-resolution communication. You aren't interested in the script of social interaction. You're looking for patterns, depth, and genuine psychological connection. Think about the last time you were at a party. While everyone else was making surface-level noise, you were likely observing the room, noticing the micro-expressions of the people talking, and wondering why they weren't saying anything of substance. You aren't being stuck up or better than others. You just don't see the point in wasting emotional energy on interactions that don't provide real value. When you have a small circle, it's because you've filtered out the noise. You'd rather spend 6 hours in a deep, soul-bearing conversation with one person than 6 minutes pretending to care about a stranger's weekend. This is a sign of high relational intelligence because it allows you to save your mental RAM for the things that actually matter, like your own growth or your polymath interests. This leads us to the second trait, strategic emotional conservation. Think of your emotional energy like a bank account. Most people spend their currency on anyone who asks for it. They let emotional vampires drain them. They engage in gossip to feel included, and they stay in one-sided friendships because they are afraid of being alone. But you are an architect of your own peace. You've realized that every person you let into your life requires a slice of your mental health. By keeping your circles small, you are making a high-EQ decision to protect your internal focus. This is a trait often found in the quieter individuals, who society warns others to fear, not because you're dangerous, but because you are impossible to manipulate. You know exactly how much energy you have, and you refuse to spend it on people who don't provide a return on investment in terms of trust and loyalty. You aren't lonely in your silence. You are recharging your rare strength. Have you ever noticed that after a day of being alone, you feel sharper and more creative? That's because a rare mind uses silence as fuel, while others use it as a reason to panic. Your small circle is a deliberate choice to keep your environment high quality and low stress. Number 3 is a deep psychological connection to your past, your survival intelligence. Many people with small circles were once the black sheep of their family, the middle child, or the child who essentially had to raise themselves. If you grew up in an environment where trust was scarce, or where you had to endure emotional instability, your brain developed a rare trait of hypervigilance. You learned early on that not everyone who smiles at you has your best interests at heart. You can sense fake intentions and manipulative humor long before others do. As an adult, this manifests as a high bar for entry into your life. You don't have few friends because you can't make them. You have few friends because your trust meter is highly calibrated. This is what we call traumatic intelligence. You are being paranoid. You're being observant. You've curated a group of people who are safe, and you refuse to compromise that safety for the sake of looking socially active to the outside world. Your small circle isn't a sign of social anxiety, it's a badge of your survival and self-protection. You honor the younger version of yourself who had to stay alert by refusing to let toxic people back in. The fourth trait is your psychological autonomy. Most people are terrified of having few friends because their self-worth is tied to external validation. They need the group photos, the likes, and the constant invitations to prove to themselves that they matter. But if you have the ability to sit alone with no phone and no distractions and still feel mentally stimulated, you possess a rare kind of power. When you only have one or two friends, you aren't looking for a crowd to tell you you're okay. You provide that validation for yourself. This makes you society's biggest threat because you cannot be controlled through the fear of exclusion. You are the person who can walk away silently from a toxic job, a family feud, or a bad social circle because you don't need a team to back you up. You are your own anchor. This high mindset independence is what allows you to ignore the 9 to 5 grind or the traditional milestones of life and build a path that actually fits your unique portfolio of interests. You aren't waiting for a group's permission to be yourself. Your small circle is a reflection of that. You only want people who respect your autonomy, not people who want to control it. Finally, we have the trait of high-resolution relational memory. Because you don't scatter your attention across 50 different acquaintances, you see your one or two friends with a level of detail that others completely miss. You remember the small things, their fears, their specific coffee order, and most importantly, the moments they stayed loyal to you when things were hard. In return, you offer a rare kind of strength in your loyalty. You might be the person who forgives but never forgets, using your memory as a strategy for emotional safety. You don't offer second chances easily, but for the people who have passed the filter, you are an unseen anchor. This is why your friendships often last decades, while others change with every new trend. You have traded social breadth for relational depth. You understand that one friend who truly understands your deep thinking is worth more than 1,000 acquaintances who only know your name. So, if you're sitting at home tonight while everyone else is out socializing, don't let that voice in your head tell you that you're weird or missing out. You are practicing a form of relational intelligence that most people won't discover until it's far too late. You are protecting your peace, honoring your survival, and building a life based on truth rather than a performance for a crowd. You aren't lonely, you are selective. And in a world full of noise, being selective is the ultimate rare gift. If this video helped you decode your own behavior, let me know in the comments. Are you a small circle person by choice? And what is the one trait of your closest friend that made them pass your filter? I read every comment because this community is built for the black sheep and the deep thinkers like you. If you want to understand more about the hidden psychology of your unique traits, like why you talk to yourself or why you avoid eye contact, make sure to subscribe to Mind Decode and hit that notification bell. We are committed to these long-form deep dives to give your identity the depth it deserves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.